one of these?
Sure, what's this about, brother?
We got a situation up in Delaware that's crazy right now, brother. Brothers are being lynched.
Oh, lynched? In 2012?
That's the same exact thing we see when we got the story.
So how'd you hear about it?
That's a good question. You know, there was a professor who was at Delaware State University named Dr. Jahi Issa. And to make a long story short, he was doing some research and educating the students on how they're trying to destroy and demolish HBCUs.
Oh, I went to Bowie State.
I went to Hampton University, so you know how the students were responding to that. And in the midst of sharing this information with the students, he stumbled upon the fact that they were actually lynching brothers in Dover, Delaware.
Oh. How come I didn't hear about this on CNN?
You didn't hear about it on CNN because this is an election year. Do you know who the state's attorney is for the state of Delaware?
Who would that be?
That would be Bo Biden. Bo Biden is the Vice President Joe Biden's son. So as you can see, this is an extremely political situation.
Understood. So what do you have to do with this?
We represent an organization called War on the Horizon. And what we do is we educate black people to the threat of white supremacy and teach our people how we can prepare for black survival.
No doubt. Much needed. Definitely going to check this out. Thank you, brother.
Appreciate you, bro. Be safe out there, all right?
All right, got it.
Yo, throw that Bobby Himmy DVD in the garbage, man. Oh, back that water, man. Yeah. Speak to him, Lord.
Somewhere, a black man's eyes wells up in the dark, away from his peers, away from his queen, away from his offspring.
That's right.
Coming to a fork in the road, and not realizing that he cannot stand still. Cause sometimes life isn't about right or wrong, just left or right.
You gotta keep it moving.
The stress, the pressure, the respect of your woman, the admiration of your child. Almost obsolete
That's what
as the breadwinner when the flower is provided by the enemy. If your only resource is labor, or at least that's what they'll pay for,
slavery, God.
what happens when they can get it for cheaper?
And
Now we got amnesia as to what a man is and what a man does.
like, wow.
Is the possibility of death too great? Is the fear of physical confinement hindering your proper judgment?
I just got locked up last week.
See, death is a guarantee, and you might just get knocked just because.
That's word.
Now, your woman condescends, cause she just can't understand how she could get a job, but you cannot.
You gotta create our own job.
And look at the places you go, and the people you fraternize with, cause they say a lot about your character. And whoever you are, who you say you are. White supremacy has struck a deadly blow, but our vital signs persist. When we know better, an excuse is just an excuse.
Stop talking, man.
Whether you fully comprehend or not,
Lord.
you're a man.
Stand up, let them know, Lord.
And manhood is your birthright.
Stand up.
It is your job to know what that entails, black man.
Stand up, man.
And it cannot be defined by our natural adversary,
Stand up.
for his ways are not ours. Do we allow our boys to be feminized?
Hell no.
Do we allow our girls to be masculinized?
Hell no.
Because sheep get on the defensive? Or do we muster manhood and stand firm on our principles?
Stay strong, Lord.
I leave that up to you, brother.
Casket drop.
But as you dry your face and contemplate your next move, keep in mind the devils love doubt. And if you don't know how to be a man, they will show you how.
It's wartime. Cypher!
Peace.
Black power, manhood, manhood, manhood.
Jeannie woke me up this morning. He said, Shabazz, you do know what time it is. I said, is it time to do your show again? Dang. He said, yes, it is. I said, all right, but I'm bringing Bodyshotz with me this time. So welcome to the Warfront, brothers and sisters. We have a wonderful program in store for you tonight. we are going to be tackling the subject of feminism, how it got its start, how it's being used against us. And this is a really relevant subject. I know we talk about it on a fairly regular basis on War on the Horizon, but we really need to dig down to the roots of it. Anybody that listened to the intro music, I like that song by our Brothers United Front, Ambassador O. And, you know, it's really insightful. It tells you about the life of black men. And, of course, in there it mentions a lot of times that after dealing with all that, they got to come home and still deal with the nonsense of black women. And, of course, we have to deal with men's nonsense, too. It goes both ways. But historically, we were in the battle together. Historically, we knew who our enemy was. And that line has been skewed probably for the last few generations. It's been a while now. You know, we stopped fighting side by side with our men and started fighting side by side with white women against our men. So now when they are struggling and fighting the devil all day long and they come home, a lot of times we are not their allies. We have become their enemies. So we're going to talk about this a little bit today. I do want to mention that Baba Baruti's book is out, Message to the Warriors. That's out in print if you go to his website and get that. Also, my book is out in ebook form. It's called God's Gift, How to Be a Good Black Woman to a Strong Black Man. That will be out in print hopefully next month is what I'm aiming for. And that book talks a lot about the same thing, feminism. How do we combat that? How do we stop acting like white women, get out of that white woman mindset, and actually start to get in touch with our own femininity and work to cooperate with black men instead of competing against them and trying to take their manhood away, basically. Irritated Genie will be back next week. We are glad to know that he made it home safe and sound, and he's going to have a lot of news and information for us, definitely. So that is basically what we are going to be talking about today. And, you know, for women that may be listening, a lot of times we've come to the point where we're just like, yeah, whatever. I really don't want to hear it. It's feminism, whatever. Black men did us wrong. We have to fight. We have to, you know, take care of ourselves. And that's something I've heard a lot of since releasing my book. I've had a lot of good reviews, but I've also heard a lot of feminists as well saying, you know, well, what are we supposed to do? I mean, look at our men. Yeah, but the thing is, we help to groom our men. We help to elevate our men. And if we are not willing to do that because of a feminist mind, then we are really doing more harm than good. So that is what we are going to be speaking about. We are waiting for Bodyshotz to come on the line. So I'm going to play just a short music break, and then when we come back, hopefully we will have him with us to start our expose on feminism and small hats, because you know, anytime there's a war between black men and black women, it's a devil behind it.
Black Power family, I want you to get on this joint. Speak from the soul, bro.
Your white supremacy, you thought that you could finish me, but my elders told me you're my mom, enemy. Sit down in energy to come at you relentlessly, and I won't give up to this justice for what you did to me. Crush you like a centipede, blessed with the strength, smarts, and the speed, and the program to end this misery. Turn my woman against me, and now she look at me like I don't respect her and can't protect the seeds. Ignorance and division is what religion breeds. And my mind is deeper than all the 7 seas. So with my 9, I creep up and all you'll ever see is dead crackers. Click-clacking the deadly melody. No childish ways, so my violent ways make me put my life on the line before I die in the cave. Look for truth in the sky, you can lie in the grave. Either die from AIDS or die from a gauge. Either fight for freedom or die as a slave. I send you back from whence you came because your mind's in the cave. I denounce your Nazism and your Zionist ways. I speak the truth through my words and what I jot on the page. Yeah, this cracker said I was laid off, then he broke out and he played off. Stress got me plotting, killing Jews like Adolf. White supremacy, gay all the black president voting. I was hesitant, cause he ain't picked to represent the red, black, green, the colors I bleed. I keep fighting for my seeds for as long as I breathe. I supposed to be mean, but I'm all of my dean. Got me taking shots of tequila and rolling up weed. Would you sell your dignity and risk it all for your dreams? I only roll with the strong, the hand of God intervened. Told me we cut from different fabric, others tore from the seams. Giving you food for thought, you get it raw from the king. Essential minerals I'm giving you, no pork or no wings. This is all alkaline, I never rhyme for the bling. Let's go.
Yo, I can feel it in my soul, like, yo, I feel like
All right, family, welcome back. I'm just going to open up some of the lines really quick and see if we have Bodyshotz calling in from a different number. Anonymous call. You're live on War on Horizon. Is this Brother Bodyshotz? Okay, I'm going to assume not. 9653. This is not Brother Bodyshotz, is it? 9653?
No, sister, I'm just listening in.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to take one more music break, and if we don't have Bodyshotz on the line, then we're just going to continue on to talk about feminism. We've all seen it. We've all been victims of it, whether it's a female with that mind state or a male having to deal with a female of that mind state. So we're going to do one more music break, and then we will be back with feminism.
Yeah, let's go. Sitting in this place to me seems like paradise, but life is a gamble like the roll of a paradise. Trying to get checks on the side like a pair of Nikes. My black skin is beautiful, you times don't wear it right. Protected by my essence and protected by my weapon. My Bible is a rifle, my Quran is a bomb to strike down my enemies. My knife is my songs. God bless your soul, I got your life in my palm. No love for my enemies. God said so send to me knowledge of myself. You ain't my friends and don't pretend to be. Turning your cheek, the tyrannies are sending me. My God and my gun, I walk with him. You'll begin to see the blessing received for fighting white supremacy. My ancestors energy, I feel them in my energy. I still got rights, it's like rolling up a dime of weed, but I already quit. I need to breathe when it's time to bleed. By any means you can dream to protect the seas, because my G-U-N was given to me by my G-O-D. My holy bullets, leaving you holy footed to your grill. You'll be killed in both mine and your Tony pulling your pale skin. Bullets wet you up like well skin. This white man is devil, I'ma send you to hell then. I'm working on my aim, no more thinking like a slave. With my God and my gun, I'ma put you in the grave. I rise like the sun with my God and my gun. I walk with them hand in hand like father and son. My God told me stand strong, never told me to run. My gun to my enemies, one squeeze and be done. I rise like the sun with my God and my gun. I walk with them hand in hand like father and son. My God told me stand strong, never told me to run. My gun to my enemies, one squeeze and be done. I'm praying as I'm spraying automatics, never laying down to the cracker. I'm attacking all Caucasians, bullets make you drop like Salat. All limbs I'm blazing, arm, leg, arm, head. Allah is the greatest, got no love for the same cracker, the slave trading rapist. If you think I don't know the truth, you sadly mistaken. 600 AD, the Arab invasion of the African continent. Man, the battle station start the African jihad. The time to start chasing, yeah, you really gon' need God. AR's on aim and hand to God, can't reach y'all. Chaos cause changes, freedom fighters could never die. We all God's angels. I rise like the sun with my God and my gun. I walk with them hand in hand like father and son. My God told me stand strong, never told me to run. My gun to my enemies, one squeeze and you're done. I rise like the sun with my God and my gun. I walk with them hand in hand like father and son. My God told me stand strong, never told me to run. My gun to my enemies, one squeeze and you're done. I ain't forget about you. Yeah. Day and insured the ships, they paid for the whips, they funded the expeditions, they paid for the trips. And they talk about genocide, they funded our Holocaust. They screaming out Mazel Tov from throwing the Molotov. Hit you in your noggin, now your yarmulke falling off. It's Yahweh or the highway, you'll be dead when the shots fall. When the shots hit your chest, it'll burn like Bacardi Dark. Return to the Falasha, kill the white Jew imposter. Because you lack the matzah to deal with my people proper. Now you gon' have to deal with this bleeping shotgun, the slum lord. The moment you see me, you know you done for. You even see my face on your TV, you better run for it. The evil Hebrew, unequal, you claim to be the chosen people. The wrath of God come to see you. No respect for Israel, you criminals set the colony. You hate me cause I'm speaking the truth. You try to silence me.
I believe in my God and in my God. And I can tell you don't really believe in God and you believe in the God. I believe in God and my God. And I pray that He will bless and shoot straight when it's time to shoot straight. When it's time to shoot straight.
All right, brothers and sisters, welcome back. We are still waiting for Brother Bodyshotz. I just spoke to him, and he assured me that he will be calling in just a moment. He has a cracker that will not stay in the trunk. He's trying to close the trunk, and the cracker keep on getting out. So we will be hearing from him in just a moment. And he will, of course, get into it from the small hat perspective, like he always does such a good job of letting us know how this came to be and how it's being used against us. But one thing that I've always noticed about feminism, to me, it is the biggest joke that's ever been played on Black women. And it was really shifty in the way that it was done, and we still haven't caught on. When I think of feminism, of course, white women have always been oppressed by their men, have problems with their men. So, of course, it seemed justified for them to fight against their men. On the other hand, Black women really have not been oppressed by Black men, and not as long as we've been on these shores. We've been under the authority of white men. So if we want to fight anybody, it should be that man and not our own. But the pure genius of this whole idea of feminism, at one time we were the best cooks. We were the most nurturing people, the most loving people, the most respectful and moral people that you could find in this country. Or really in the world in general, but specifically in this country. We did all of those roles, and white women were talentless, lazy. They didn't do anything. A lot of them, they didn't cook. We did that. They didn't even nurse their own babies. We did that. And so following this feminist way of basically, okay, well, you need to get a job. You don't need a man. The men want to oppress you. This whole mentality that we fell victim to basically got us to leave our families, stop being nurturing, stop being caring, stop doing all the things that made us who we were, that made us so appealing and so attractive, and follow them. And then somewhere late 80s, early 90s, maybe probably more so in the 90s, we started to see a reversal. All of a sudden, the white woman isn't so keen to be going to work all the time. She's starting to stay home now. She's not fighting against her man so much. Now she's getting along. All of a sudden, you see Black women can't cook anymore. We think we're doing something if we go to KFC. We don't even know how to fry chicken. But you see now on Food Network, white women doing home decor, doing cooking, doing all these things that we used to do. While we still have this attitude, we haven't caught on yet that white people have gone back to trying to be domestic. We haven't caught on yet. So we still have this attitude that I don't need a man. Black men ain't SHIT, all this other stuff. And slowly but surely now, they've come to take our man. And they've come to take our position. Now, instead of us being at home taking care of our family and nurturing our family, they've got our men. They're raising our babies. And it's completely reversed. And instead of trying to go back and reclaim our position, now we're being lesbians. It's just crazy. It was like the biggest joke ever for us to totally give up our position just for them to sneak back and take it. And now we don't even want it. We don't understand the African concept of the feminine principle, and how that's not something that weakens you. That's something that makes you stronger. That's something to be proud of. It's not something to be ashamed of. It doesn't make you less than. But again, following these white women and everything that they tell us, we think being feminine means being weak, means you're going to be taken advantage of, you're a sucker, and all these negative things that come along with it. And like I said, we fell for it hook, line, and sinker. And now we're complaining. They have our men. They're getting surgery to look like us. They've done everything to try to take our position, all while we are really the only ones still embracing this whole idea of feminism. So that was one perspective that I've always had on it. Ever since I became conscious, to me, it was just like a big joke that's been played on us, and we completely fell for it. I believe we may have Brother Bodyshotz on the line now to tell us a little bit about the origins of feminism and what's behind it. I know it's a lot more sinister than what I've come up with, but that's always been what I've thought of when I think about feminism. Brother Bodyshotz, is that you on the line?
Yes, it is.
Peace, how you doing?
Peace.
I told the family you was going to call in. You were trying to get a cracker in your trunk, but he kept on popping out. Did you get him in? Is the trunk locked?
Yeah, I got him, sis. I got him.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, I was just sharing with the family my perception of feminism, that basically it took the black woman out of her position as the caretaker of her family, made her stop being a nurturer, stop caring about her family so much, get out into the workforce, battle her man, and the white woman just came in and kind of stole our position while our backs were turned. But I know it goes a lot deeper than that. As you see it, I know you've done a lot of research on this subject. How did feminism get started?
Well, I mean, we could pretty much trace all so-called revolutions or social reforms back to the Smallhats. When I say that, I mean both political, social, cultural revolutions, like communism, socialism, labor movements, and also feminism. It's their attempt to keep society so off-kilter that you can never identify who's actually pulling the strings. So it's a divide and rule that they've actually enhanced to better be able to manipulate and control the masses. So feminism is just another evil machination of small hats. In fact, feminism actually is the offshoot or was founded on cultural Marxism. Karl Marx, whose name was really Mordecai, a small hat, came up with this bright idea of, changing this whole class structure and reorientation and reorganization of society. And so feminism basically takes that, and it's a very leftist type politic of saying that the reason why people are, how can I put this? The small hats create the social conditions that create a natural animosity to it. So you're oppressed, and you're going to have a natural animosity because it is the desire of everyone to be free. But the way you release and to channel that anger and frustration, then they bring in these so-called revolution, communism, labor movements, feminism, as we're speaking tonight, as a way of channeling that energy and that frustration. But it's always controlled. and it's not as natural as one would think. So feminism basically is an illogical fallacy on the basis of its merits, because it seeks to define gender as a man-made phenomenon, as if some man somewhere in a cave sat down and decided that he would go out and work and provide, and the woman excuse me, would be stuck at home with the babies. This is not a man-made phenomenon. It is not a cultural thing, and it's not social. It is actually natural law. It's divine in nature, and that is gender is not some social construct. It is divine in nature. It's biological. It's scientific, and by doing this, what the feminist movement has done is created a logical fallacy, which doesn't speak to that, but they create another paradigm and then attack that. And what I mean by this, you can't say that a woman and a man doesn't have differences. It's clear that they have differences. But if you then say that those differences came about because of some man thinking it up, then you can destroy that. And that's how the feminists were able to gain the mass appeal that it has. If I could briefly go into how the Smallhats were behind it. Trying to get it up. Everyone can check out, it's called myjewishlearning.com. Pretty much all my sources tonight are going to come from Smallhats. MyJewishLearning.com has an article titled Judaism and Psychology. It says it was an article written by Jessica Kraft of Smallhats. Jewish psychologists and the influence of Jewish tradition have been instrumental in creating the field of modern psychology. The fundaments of several psychological movements can be traced directly to Jewish values, ideas, and practices, and Jews in the 20th century. Jews in the 20th century were at the forefront of research about the psyche and the various human behaviors. Now, why is this important? It's important because feminism is nothing but psychological warfare. As I discussed, their basis of gender has been a man-made concept. When you look at the beginning of psychoanalysis and the war on the minds of the people, the father that they credit of psychoanalysis is Sigmund Freud, who was a small hat. Also, when you look through this article, you find out that pretty much everyone involved in the history of the study of the mind was small hat. So what were they at, and what are they doing, and what does feminism do to the mind of the black woman? When Sigmund Freud breaks down the mind, he breaks it down into three concepts: the id, super id, and ego. Basically, what they were doing was separating the mind of an individual, separating your emotional mind from your logical mind. So when I talk about gender being biological, once you start to inoculate the mind and separate emotion from logic, then you can get women going on emotionalism and sensationalism. To where, you got black women out burning bras and, cooking oodles and noodles. I don't want to cook no more. I don't want to clean no more. Type of behaviors. And basically this is what you see in feminism. Because if you look at it with a rational mind and a logical mind and not an emotional mind, as many feminists do, you will see that, as Baba Baruti has penned in his work, Complementarity, that the interaction between the man and the woman is not about the battling of the sexes. It's not about one outdoing the other, because they have different qualities which complement each other. So when you look at the basis of psychoanalysis and how the small hats were behind it, then you see how feminism is just an extension of that, getting women into dealing in the emotional realm and not logical. It's not logical for a woman to say she's not going to take care of her husband. It's not logical for a woman to turn her back on her children. It's not logical for a woman to be a slob. And as I found in your writings, the attack of the feminazis, the black family can check that out on your website, Message to the Black Fam, it's nothing in a woman's nature to neglect these things.
That's very true, and it almost, I think Jeannie has said this, it's a form of the intellectual form of lesbianism. And I mentioned that as you were coming on the line, that while we've been following the white women and white women have ended up with our men, a lot of us are going to lesbianism now, and a lot of us are quick to say, well, feminism doesn't equal lesbianism, and it doesn't always, but it gets you a good portion of the way there.
Hopefully we touch on that in a few, because basically, and as Baba Baruti states, you know what? I said I was going to read it, just a paragraph out of Complementarity, because it's a groundbreaking work for healing our families. And I was just going to save this until the end when, I offer a solution for how can we heal our black family. But it's so pertinent, I might as well go ahead. This is the first chapter, Baba Baruti's Complementarity, chapter 1. He says, as a core principle of Maya, complementarity speaks to two differently qualified, yet intimately interacting beings, forces or things diligently and continuously working toward a healthy, holistic balance. It is the drive to maintain equilibrium between two beings, forces or things that must work together if either expects to survive, emphasis on to survive, and reach its full potential in the community of their universe. And when I came on the line, you were speaking about the fact that it isolates women, and that is exactly what it does. Whereas we were in a fight against racism, dominance, and oppression, or any enemy of the black race, whether it be Arab or Indian or Chinese, the black man and the black woman was able to form a united front that could work together. But now, with this whole feminist movement, now you've isolated the ally that you once had, and now it's black women against white males, white males, and also black males. And because they've been so roused up by these small hats, meaning black feminists, they can't touch white women. You don't have the political clout. You don't have the economic viability. You really don't have a voice in the mainstream, so you can't attack white females. You can't attack the white male power structure. So who is the only one left in the picture that you can swing at? Who is the only one that can feel the brunt of your frustration? And that is the black male. And this is all by design, sister. So if you want to cease people's ability to survive, then you must turn the woman against the man and the man against the woman. And this is what Baba Baruti is speaking to. Then he goes on a few paragraphs later. He says, the drive for this whole women being super masculine and men being super feminine, he said it's in the European nature to want to dominate everything. For the woman, the female's position to dominate everything. For the white male's position to dominate everything. So he says this gender confusing imperative operates on the philosophical assumption that individuals, at least European individuals, are innately qualified to know all, direct all, and be in all areas, including sex. In terms of the intellectual validation of culture, no other theoretical assumption better advances the correctness of homosexuality for them. Basically, when you go back and you look at all the original documents from what they call the second wave of the feminist movement that took place in the early 70s, look at all of those documents, it directly coincides with what was also happening in the political landscape of this country in the 70s, which was the homosexual gay platform in 1972. All this stuff is going in tandem, parallel. There's a continuum here, and basically to what you were speaking of, feminism was just the foundation for what they were later coming with, which was homosexuality and lesbianism. As a matter of fact, the largest organization of black women, feminists, were called let me get the name right. I want to get the name right. It's called the Combahee River Collective. The Combahee River Collective. And what this was, a bunch of black feminists that got upset with being with white feminists, and they went and started their own organization. And the Combahee River was a euphemism for Harriet Tubman. That was one of her famous victories, where she freed over 700 slaves in a single trip on the Underground Railroad. So, but all of them, Barbara Smith and the rest of them that started that organization, all of them were ardent lesbians. All of them, lesbians. So the whole black feminist movement from its very inception was completely a lesbian movement. There's no other end game to that scenario to have the black woman turn against the black male. No other end game. Now there's also, I'm skipping all around tonight. I'm just going to let the ancestors have their way. There's also when we deal with this whole advent of lesbianism, these black feminists like to rewrite history. I call it small hat revisionism. They rewrite history, and because we don't know history, we tend to fall for it. Two of their leading role models for why they're black feminists were Ida B. Wells and Sojourner Truth. But I find it interesting because Ida B. Wells did not find it necessary to separate the black woman's struggle from the black racist struggle. It's pretty silly to think that a black woman is going to be liberated without or in the absence of her black man.
Yes, sir.
Now let's read a little bit about Ida B. Wells. This is an article from a Smallhat now, named Patricia Scheistner of Portland State University, writing on Ida B. Wells. And she's writing about Ida B. Wells, who had these papers called the anti-lynching pamphlets. It says that in the 1890s, Ida B. Wells tended to accent white women's agency and complicity in lynchings for rape scenarios. What she's talking about here is the fact that black men were lynched wholesale. Nobody really knew why, but the explanation we were given was that they were raping white women. And she pretty much exposed that it's for economic reasons. She's now speaking on the white female. She says their portrayals of black male consorts, their silent approval of punishment, and their active participation in mobs made the white female just as responsible for the lynching of black males as white males. Basically, Ida B. Wells didn't draw a distinction between the white male and the white female. She saw both of them representing white supremacy, and as white supremacy being antithetical to black liberation and freedom. It's completely ridiculous that black feminists would call upon the name of our ancestors, like Harriet Tubman and Ida B. Wells and Sojourner Truth, to validate this foolishness.
Yes, sir. So where did it actually begin at? What do you know what the birthplace or the starting point was for this feminist movement?
You see, the further I went, it always took me further and further back. So
Gotcha.
I can't exactly pinpoint it, but I would say that I could understand the movement within a white reality, not within an African reality. It's when you go to Kemet and you look at what's there, you can't come away saying that there was any type of dissension between the black man and the black woman. It's impossible. But when you go to Rome and Greek culture, and you see that in Greek and Roman culture that the woman the female had no rights in politics, no vote, no voice, then you can start to understand why there would be an internal conflict within white culture.
Yes, sir. So it went all the way back to Rome then. When did it start becoming a major part of American culture?
I would say with the abolitionist movement is when it really started to take off. If I could read an article from the Jewish Women's Archive, if the black family wants some more information, they can go to I believe it's jwa.org/feminism. If you go there, they have a whole exhibit of Jewish feminism, going as far back. I can't remember how far back it goes, but it goes pretty far back, and their contribution to U.S. history. But yeah, in the abolitionist movement, were you able to watch the series Abolitionists?
Yes, sir, I did.
Did you see Angelina Grimke?
Yes.
Okay, she's a small hat. She was a small hat from South Carolina that got turned into a Christian somehow. So she's a crypto Jew. She gets so upset with the system of slavery, so we think, that she moves up north and she joins the abolitionist movement. Okay? As soon as she joins the abolitionist movement, she quickly turns everything that she's doing is not even about the slaves anymore. That's like the cover-up. Her main motivation, her modus operandi is women's rights. And did you see her husband? Did you see her husband put her back in her place?
Yes, sir, I did. He called her out on it.
Yeah, he was like, what is you doing? So he had to put her back in her place. So what that showed me, and everybody's ranting and raving about this abolitionist series on PBS, it's a bunch of garbage. But that shows the true motivation of the small hat feminists and the white feminists. Basically, it's about trying to get a greater share of the plantation. That's basically all it is. They want a more controlling percentage of the plantation. So she acts like she's joining the abolitionist cause to knock down stereotypes, when the only stereotype she was really concerned about the whole time was being respected as a woman in a white male-dominated society. So we see this as the beginning of it, if you will, in the U.S. as women piggybacking. One of the more famous feminists, who was a small hat, Gloria Steinem, who we know now is a CIA operative, a CIA agent, who had relations with Henry Kissinger. This Gloria Steinem wrote an article in the early 70s called After Black Power, Women's Liberation. So we see that they use this movement they use the Black Liberation Movement or the abolitionist movement to break down barriers so that they would be in a better position. If I can use one example, in Texas in the early 90s, after the whole civil rights bill was passed, Martin Luther King and all the people in the civil rights movement were so excited and elated about the civil rights bill that LBJ had signed. So we didn't realize what was really going on. What was really going on, and if you look at the SCLC, SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, were full of women small hats. And in Texas, in the early 90s, as an offshoot of affirmative action and civil rights, white females in Texas control 87% of all minority contracts from the government of Texas, state of Texas. White women, let me say this again. After the civil rights and affirmative action, white females in Texas were then, and this is one state that we're taking for an example. White females in the state of Texas were able then, using civil rights bills and affirmative action, to go and get 87% of the minority contracts in the state of Texas. And the other 12% went to Mexicans, and only 1% went to black, both male and female.
So it sounds like you're trying
Black
to say...
women, you've been had.
It sounds kind of like you're trying to say that there's no good white people out there, that when they do something, there's like a motive behind it. Are you trying to tell us there's no good white people with good intentions who want to free us and see us liberated, brother?
There's always a motive behind it. If we look at the construct, the labor construct in this country, why in the world would you be a black feminist and align yourself with hold on, I gotta read this quote. Y'all not gonna believe me. Gloria Steinem is a small hat. And let's read what one of the most politically active black feminists today, Evelyn C. White, had to say about Gloria Steinem. She says in an article at SF Gate in August of 2011, she said Gloria Steinem has strong influence on black women. Wow, that's amazing. That is amazing. Now, for the most part, the black feminist movement broke off from the white feminist movement because they said that they held no leadership roles, and that although it was about women, that the white women still came first. So they broke off and did their own thing called black feminists. Well, to me, when I look at that, I see that, okay, you're acknowledging that it was the brainchild of a white female. So if you realize that you should have moved on and did your own thing and separated yourself from the white female institution of feminism, why didn't you throw the whole ideology in the trash? It makes no sense. When you look at black feminists, it makes no sense.
Now, have you heard
but
of...
She goes on...
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
But Evelyn C. White goes on to credit that Gloria Steinem had a strong influence on black women. Now, then she goes on to cite how strong Gloria Steinem, the small hat feminist, her influence was. Gloria Steinem was the national treasurer of the Free Angela Davis. Things that make you go, I don't have to go into a spiel about who Angela Davis is. Then she says that Gloria Steinem, get this, that she wrote Shirley Chisholm's speech for her presidential campaign in 1972. Wow. She goes on to say that Gloria Steinem, gave Alice Walker her first editorial job. Alice Walker of The Color Purple. Yeah, that Alice Walker. I think she married a small hat. So, Alice Walker, she gave her first editorial job at a magazine called Miss Magazine. And it's amazing to me how black women would align themselves with these white females. Then they get a reality check. Instead of throwing the whole thing in the garbage, they take it and try to refashion it and make it black. Come on now. What do you have in common with the white female? The white female was running the plantation when the white male wasn't there. And when the white male passed, the white female was heir to the throne. She was a benefactor right there in the big house. Dude, what are you doing aligning yourself against the interests of your people? See? Small hat design. By small hat design. Now, if you look at the labor statistics in this country going back into slavery, who was the labor force? Because feminism says that women shouldn't be at home, that women shouldn't be caretakers of the household, and that they should be able to go out and make a way for themselves and not be dependent, and they should be able to go out in the workforce. Let's see how this applies to black women. Who is the labor force during slavery? black men and black women. After slavery, who was the labor force? Black men were thrown in prison with the penal codes, sharecropping, black codes, Jim Crow. It created a whole prison industrial complex to throw black men into prison. You had the birth of the AFL, CIO, small hats, then move middle class whites into unions. They take over the skilled labor that black men once held. But guess what? The black woman's still working. Then we move out of Reconstruction into civil rights. Who do we have working? Black women, still working. White males, still working. Black men in prison. So you can trace all this going all the way back as far as you want to. The black woman has always been out working. In fact, in the beginning of the movie Help, one of the domestics was, I believe it was Abilene. She was asked a question. The question was, how do you feel taking care of whites' children and not being home to take care of your own? So I had to ask myself this question. I said, if the whole emphasis of the white feminist women's liberation movement was for women to get out of the home and into the workplace, what in the world did the black woman have joining any kind of movement like that? You've always been in the workplace. What are you talking about? So we can go on and on and on about the confusion and the disruption that this has caused in the black family, all born out of small hat control.
Yes, sir. Have you heard of something called womanism? A lot of black women act like it's just so completely different than feminism.
I have not heard that. No.
Okay. It's basically feminism, I guess from a black perspective, kind of what you were talking about. Regardless, we just can't let go of that. For people who may be listening and are not certain of Angela Davis's history, I know you touched on it briefly. Can you just spend a minute or two and let us know about Angela Davis, since she is definitely a part of this whole thing?
She is a lesbian. I know you like to be controversial, Sister Lady Shabazz, but I believe that whole free Angela Davis thing came from the George Jackson incident with the San Quentin Six, and I believe that she had something to do with the getaway cop in that incident. Either way, she was saved by the system and basically brought back to do a good work for racism and white supremacy.
And then as she aged, did she continue to fight for the rights of black people, or did she move more into gay rights?
That would be the summation for a lot of them, her and many that came out of the so-called civil rights movement, including Coretta Scott, that whole Martin Luther King cabal. A lot of them. She's not the only one. What's the one that came out of the Black Panthers? That was with Huey. I can't think of her name right now. Her name escapes me.
Yeah, because it's
Elaine Brown. Elaine Brown. She's one of them too, on the forefront of supporting homosexuality and lesbianism. In fact, in that Kahambi organization I was telling you about, which is the original Black feminist movement, their tenet in their platform, you can go look it up. It's called the Kahambi River Collective Statement. In the first paragraph, they tell you that they're fighting for the rights of homosexuals and lesbians. And their main resistance, or who they were fighting most, their biggest oppression, they state, was prove to other black women that feminism was not for white women. Second tenet was to ask women very politely. Now, I'm being sarcastic now, but to ask women very politely to share power. And the third tenet was to fight the misogynistic tendencies of black nationalism. Wow. that the small hats are very good. We have to give it to them for their evil genius. How in the world did this make it into your tenets that you're going to fight the misogynistic tendencies of black nationalism? And that's one of the planks of black feminism.
Wow. All right. Well, we can continue on then. I just wanted to prove that point because that's one thing that I've noticed. A lot of us don't take the whole homosexuality thing seriously, and we think that you can be some kind of black nationalist and a faggot at the same time. But when it comes down to it, they always choose gay rights over black rights, and that's usually the agenda from the beginning. But we can move on.
Oh, that is it is crazy how they bait you hook, line, and sinker. And for anybody, and that's one of the reasons why their third plank was to fight against black nationalism. Because the black nationalists were on the forefront of fighting feminism and tried to nip it in the bud. I remember Dr. Barrett Shango talking extensively against Gloria Steinem and the gender confusion that was being infiltrated into the black community. So that could have been seen very far in advance to any real leader that was really concerned about the genuine welfare and liberation of black people, to see that feminism was no good. But see, that's another part to it, though, because, as I said, they create the problem and they give you the solution. So when I say create the problem, they give you the welfare state, New Deal, FDR, Eleanor Roosevelt, his wife, ardent feminist, supporter of the Highlander Group, communist small hat organization that brought Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks their whole ideologies. Eleanor Roosevelt, ardent feminist, right behind her husband FDR, gives you the New Deal. What was that? That was the birth of the welfare state in the 1940s. Now, any statistical analysis of the black family structure will show that up until 1925, you can go to Census Bureau, any type of Gallup poll, anywhere where you can find hard facts, statistics. 1925, there was almost no black child growing up without a mother or father present. Black marriages was on the rise. A black household, you couldn't go in the black household without finding a black mother, and a black father. 1925. 1940, after the Great Depression, they give you New Deal. Then that's expanded by Lyndon B. Johnson when he signs for the welfare state. And not only that, he turns around and makes it to where if you want to get this welfare, now the husband cannot be home. Completely divorcing the black man from the black woman. But get this though, the feminists were the ones supporting the welfare state in the black community. There's an interview on YouTube, Thomas Sowell. He looks like an Uncle Tom. I don't know if he's an Uncle Tom or not. Don't quote me. He definitely fits the pedigree of an Uncle Tom. I haven't studied him. I'm going to look more into him. But he was definitely making some good points. He did a debate against a white feminist who I think is a small hat. Can't prove it. And she's for the welfare state and pushing it in the black community, saying that what will we do without it? All these type of racial epithets. What will we do without it? How will we ever make it? Who's going to feed the little black babies? And Thomas Sowell takes a position that it's the very welfare state that endorses and sponsors and actually reinforces the lack of independent will, the lack of self-sufficiency. Because if I can sit home and get a check, I'll sit home and get a check. But then it hit me. The whole feminist movement, they said that they wanted women to be able to get out of the home and to make a way for themselves. But yet, white feminists were pushing welfare in the black community, where black women would sit home and do nothing.
Wow, I never thought about
they
that.
rose a cha-cha-cha-cha-cha. Hinkleberry hat is very sophisticated in nature. We gotta get, I got that from my brother, Heritage Cheney. Cha-cha-cha-cha-cha. They are very, very sophisticated. Dr. Collett said they have a reprobate mind. They have a concupiscence nature. We suffered, black you. Black woman, we. Shut up. You was around running the plantation, you white female. So, what the point I want to make? I can read you a list of names. Anybody want the names? You can go. It's called the Secret Covenant of your masters, the Secret Covenant of your owners. Some white boy, he don't like Smallhats either. He made this documentary. You can see all he lists with pictures and names all of the Smallhats feminists that were behind feminism. I mean, it's remarkable. Okay, but get this though. Not only do they control pushing feminism, but guess what they also control?
What's that?
They control anti-feminism at that. So when women get out and talk about I can do a man's job, or I can play football, or I can do boxing and all this other kind of stuff, and I'm not washing dishes and I'm not cooking and all this stuff, okay. Of course there's going to be a pushback. Of course there's going to be women with their right mind, like Sister Lady Shabazz, who, I gotta get this quote from you. I stole this from Sister Lady Shabazz.
What? I got Bodyshotz quoting me? I'm big time now.
Yeah.
I'm making it come up.
You say, I didn't drop my notes. Oh, man, it was a good quote. I'm gonna find it, too.
Okay.
I ain't gonna take too long to do it either. I know the line's gonna be on fire tonight.
Yes, sir. And we are going to be coming to the lines in just a moment. We're going to finish up on this subject a little bit more. But we're going to go until the show is over. So hang on the lines. The number is 760-569-7676. Participation code 948656#. And you're here with Lady Shabazz and Brother Bodyshotz discussing the roles of Smallhats in feminism.
Lady Shabazz said, taking care of your home is not demeaning. It is essential. It's essential, black woman. You can't get away from it. How are we ever going to rise? There is no nation without communities. There's no community without family. And there's no family if the black woman and the black man cannot find a common ground. If I can go back for a minute to the development of feminism, being a small hat concocted scheme, there was a filmmaker called his name was Russo, Aaron Russo, that was his name. He was the filmmaker that directed Trading Places with Eddie Murphy. He also got a good documentary out. I believe he's a small hat. I cannot prove it. I believe he's a small hat. He also has a documentary out called From Freedom to Fascism. It was a pretty good documentary. You know, small hats always like to announce the game.
Mm-hmm.
And they get off on this too. A lot of people think I'm like very smart. Not very smart. I just study small hats. They tell you exactly what they've done. They tell you what they're going to do. They're very arrogant. And once you look at them long enough, you begin to see where they're actually lying and where they're actually telling the truth. But he became best friends with, of all people, Nick Rockefeller. He says in one of his last interviews before he met his untimely demise, Russo said he was sitting around on the couch with Nick Rockefeller, the Rockefeller family, big-time small hat family. kicking back drinking. Rockefeller looks at him and says, "What do you think about the women's liberation movement?" And he goes on to answer, and apparently it wasn't good enough for him. And Rockefeller looked at him and was like, "You don't get it." He said, "We created feminism. Feminism was funded by the Rockefeller Foundation." He said, "And our two main objectives for the funding of feminism." So you got to look at these so-called revolutions, the Bolshevik Revolution, the French Revolution, the failed revolutions of 1848, and all these other kind of revolutions, like the so-called revolution in Kenya, the so-called revolution in South Africa. There's been no revolution in South Africa. All these so-called revolutions are too well financed, for one. They get too much exposure in the mainstream. So you can kind of put together when something's very organic. So no, black women, I understand that black feminism is not a concept that a majority of black women would have subscribed to. But even if that's not the case, we've all been inoculated in some sense. It's all rubbed off on some of us. This sense of this feminist movement. But it truly never was a grassroots movement.
Yes, sir. And I
Rockefeller goes on to, huh?
I was going to say, I actually saw that clip that you just referred to. I didn't know that he had met an untimely demise, but I do remember seeing that clip. I can bear witness to that.
Oh, yeah, that movie, that documentary he did, Freedom of Fascism, it exposed a lot. I don't think that was the reason for his untimely demise. But, yeah.
Either way, crack in the trunk.
Oh, yeah, that's good news. The two main objectives that Rockefeller proposes to Rousseau was that, one, women in the workplace would increase the tax base. Two, is that with women going into the workplace, neglecting their duty-bound responsibility to their children, now the children would be sent into the system of the public food system much earlier and on a much more consistent basis, which would allow the system more time to de-educate your child and to mold and reorient your child in whatever ways that they deem would be beneficial to their whole new world order, system of control. So that's another example of how Smallhats engineered this whole thing. Now, right before we go to the phones, I got something real important that I gotta read. It's very important to the black family. I took this right off a blog. It's a black woman who was very much into the feminist movement. Her Alice Walker, Oprah Winfrey, Whoopi Goldberg, man, Color Purple. Yeah, Whoopi Goldberg is deep into the feminist movement. You know, burning bras and all this other kind of crazy stuff. She's so deep into it, she said, "I don't even want to be black no more." She changed her last name to Goldberg. So they didn't got us up into this mixed black family. It's time to get out. It's time to heal. Come on back home, you chocolate feminists. We love you. She says in her blog, "Black women continue to be silenced by feminists. Our issues labeled as divisive. We in particular are criticized for focusing too much on our race. According to the feminists, according to them, we should all unite behind the cause of fighting gender discrimination, as if lifting up the mantle of white women will bring success and prosperity to all women. This sort of mind game employed by them has been proven untrue. White feminists have been all too willing to utilize their own privilege and position of power to trample on the backs of black women and enforce racist sexual stereotypes that continue to hold black women in bondage. I'll never have a place in feminism. As a whole, it does not address the impact of white supremacy, white privilege, white racism, and whiteness has had on my people."
No, that's right. Yes, sir. Were you finished reading that?
Yes.
Yes, sir. She got that right. That's 100% correct. And I just wish more of us knew that. I can never understand why we get mad at our man instead of the people that put our man in the position he's in. That's insane to me.
Wow. That's exactly correct.
Yes, sir. Well, did you have anything else before we went to the phone lines?
Nah, I guess it'll come out.
Okay. Yes, sir.
It'll come out later, whatever I had done.
Okay. Yes, sir. Definitely, we'll be getting back to some more stuff with feminism. I know it's a very broad subject. 9653, you're live. (9653) still just listening in? All right, I'll assume they're listening in. 4858, you're live on War on the Horizon. 4858. All right, got a lot of people just listening in today. 5469, you're live.
Sister Shabbat,
Yes, sir.
can I go into one little thing right quick? Take like 10 seconds.
Okay, yes, sir.
What I found most interesting, back to the one point that I was making. They control the feminist movement, and then when resistance, so they create the conditions where a segment of society will oppose the feminist movement. And as Lenin said, the Smallhat from Russia, the best way to control opposition is to lead it. So then they lead the anti-feminist movement. There was a book called that was written called "The War Against Boys: How Misguided Feminism is Harming Our Young Men." So then you would think that would be just some regular old random cracker that would write this book coming out against feminism and how feminism is destructive to little boys. But guess who the author was? A Smallhat by the name of Christina Hoff Summers. They control both sides of the movement. Like, we all, the 3/4 of all Smallhats control slaves. Yet, all of them, the Jewish Encyclopedia says all of them were in the abolitionist movement. 3/4 of those, 75% of those with John Brown and the whole John Brown raid were all Smallhats. In fact, the weapons that they had for the Harper's Ferry raid with John Brown was all financed by Smallhats. So how are you the slave master and the freer of slaves at the same time? How are you a feminist and against feminism at the same time? And the future of feminism, I've been saying a lot of cases of black women murdering their families. Out of the blue, just black women are just picking up guns, shooting their children, shooting themselves, shooting the men in their lives. I've been saying it increased a lot lately. In fact, I just got a report that down in North Carolina, that a woman shot her son, killed him, shot her daughter, fatally wounded her. I mean, I think she might be in intensive care, and maced her husband and then shot him, then went in a room and shot herself. Black woman. This is not you, black woman. But see, by creating these conditions, there's no unintended consequences. Every action has equal or greater reaction. They know this. They anticipate this, and they control that too. So where you have black feminists and this whole ideology that black women have brought into lock, stock, and barrel, whether black women admit or call themselves feminists, 99.99% of them display and act this out in their homes and in their daily lives. I've been in situations personally where I walked into places of business, and I'm a construction worker, so I look kind of rough, you know what I'm saying? I keep it rugged. I walk into a business place, white females, hey, how's it going, buddy? White males, hey, Bob, how's it going? And I walk past the cubicle of a black woman, and she turns her head. Don't give me no type of, hey, how you doing, or, none of that. So whether you're calling yourself a feminist or not, you really gonna have to check yourself if you're thinking that this black race is gonna survive. But like I was saying, so there's gonna be a opposition to feminism, right?
Yes, sir.
what is the opposition? What are we saying in the future of this thing? Now you're going to see feminism, but it's going to be for men. Small hats are going to control this too. So we had a woman out there doing all this stuff. I can do it better than you. Now you're going to have a very misogynistic, very he-man, woman-hater type, overly aggressive, I hate women type of movement. And one of those organizations is called Fathers and Families. They were behind a commercial by Kellogg. It was Rice Krispies. I don't know if you've seen this. It's a black man with a little black son and a little black daughter. It's raining outside. They stay inside, and he's making Rice Krispie cakes. You seen that commercial?
No, sir, I haven't seen it.
Black man's making Rice Krispies with his son and his daughter. It seems very not harmful. And to the black population that watches, they say, wow, man, mainstream is coming around. You know, those small hats aren't that bad. Look, they can show a positive black man, you know, sticking in there, taking care of his family. So you see the inverse of feminism being this overly aggressive, male-dominated type paradigm. But why can't the black man and the black woman be in the kitchen cooking Rice Krispies with the kids?
Right.
And so this organization, Fathers and Families, is behind this, and they're actually pushing for legislation to where in the family law courts that women would no longer be given impunity in custody battles, and men now want child support from the women. And so, see, it's never equal ground. It's never satisfaction. There's never complementariness, if that's a word. And the small head that controls that is called Ned Holstein. So he's controlling this overly aggressive masculine movement that's supposed to be the answer to feminism. Yes. But if you look at it, they both fuel each other. Because if men become overly aggressive and misogynistic, then that gives the feminists credence. And then if the feminists do what the feminists do, then that gives the men. It's completely ridiculous. But this is exactly what this small hats do. It's pretty crazy. But when we talk about that, I know you want to get back to the phone, Ash. I just had one more point. We say, what do the small hats do? They got everybody else acting like plum fools. I mean, Dale Jones said this. Dale Jones said, I knew we had a problem where black men and black women could wake up in the morning, look between their legs, and be confused about who and what they are. So much confusion. How do you look down your pants, down your skirt, and don't know who you are? Do the small hats have this problem? No, they're not monolithic. But there's a documentary called Feminism and Jewish Orthodox Women. Now, the whole thing is in Yiddish. It's pretty painful. I'm pretty sure that none of y'all will be able to sit through it and watch this yakety yak, these Yiddish kikes. But I had to do it for the black family. And this is what I came back with. The question that these Jews, small hat females were asked is, what is the role of Jewish women according to the Torah? The answer came from a rabbi's wife who responded, women should know that their status is very, very high in Judaism. And the right way to achieve it is by being modest, quiet, and avoiding fights. Wow. You would think that what was good for the goose is good for the gander. So while they're out pushing all of this filth and all this dissension and all of this competitiveness in our culture, they in their little summer schools and their little tumult Sunday school lessons teaching their women to be modest, to not to be fighting, not to be bickering, but to find common ground with your mate. That the Jewish woman is esteemed in Judaism, and that all she needs to do to be accepted and revered is just to be embrace her feminine principles. It's completely ridiculous that the small hats will push this filth on us. Why they control the world, and it's perfect harmony in their household.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I am going to come back to the phone lines in just a moment, but there are a few things that I want to address. Again, the call-in number, 760-569-7676, and participation code 948656#. Go on and call in with your thoughts on feminism or small hats, or just to say cracker in the trunk, your choice. But you did make a really good point about, and I know you said the future of feminism, but it's happening right now, about this ultra masculine, misogynistic groups of men who are coming up now. And it really does feed off of each other, because for so long we've had these masculinized women who are not nurturers, who do not care for their children properly, who never have anything good to say. You know, you little nappy-headed N-word, you ain't no good, just like your daddy, and all this stuff. So you have these men growing up who don't even know what it's like to really bond with a woman, which also makes it much easier for them to fall prey to pedophilia, homosexuality, because they're not used to bonding with a woman. So, you know, any unnatural thing would do, because they don't have the natural reference. So they grow up and they become these black men with so much hatred and bitterness towards black women. And I noticed this when I did a program called The Black Woman's Apology. And I thought it was a really nice show. It was me and another sister, Sister Najma, and we just talked about the black woman's role and how we need to do better. And, you know, all the callers were positive, and I'm thinking we did a good job. I'll post this video on YouTube. And these brothers went ham. I had to delete like half the comments, because it's people saying, you know, oh, they probably married to white men. They probably ain't even with the black man. They probably at home raising all kinds of hell. You know, oh, never trust a black woman. They ain't about nothing. I mean, and then started using profanity and calling us out our names and all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, wow. I was saying, I'm sorry, I didn't even do nothing to you. I'm apologizing for these women. I didn't even do nothing. I'm innocent. And just got this vicious attack. And of course, that would fuel feminism. But even from my vantage point, I'm a fairly balanced person. It made me be like, what? Like the little bit of balance I do have, I want to be like, well, forget you then. And that's the reaction when we get that kind of really misogynistic attitude from our men, that, you know, no matter what we do, they're not able to bond with us. They're not able to believe in us. They're not able to have faith in us. And a lot of times that comes from their mother, who were feminists. And like you said, it's just a cycle, and it feeds off of each other. And of course, the devil is behind the scenes laughing, because he's controlling both sides, pitting one against the other. And of course, we go to him with the solution, which is never a solution. So I thought that was actually a brilliant point that you made, and it's actually happening right as we speak.
Yeah, I mean, we could take it to the hip hop, the hat top degenerate culture, where, you know, the black man the black woman's just a sexual toilet, as brother Irritated Jenny says, and, you know, no respect whatsoever. Then I was watching clips on YouTube, and this one particular individual started to talk about the relationship between the black woman and the black son, and how now the black woman no longer even looks for a suitable mate. They just lay down, have a child, and then that son pops up. And now, I mean, I've seen on one black woman's Facebook status, she just had a son. She was like, "This is the new man in my life."
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Yep.
What? So what that says to me, and what the brother was saying, I don't agree with him. That's why I'm not going to drop his name. He's very degenerate. He's very degenerate in nature. But this particular point he made was good. He talked about the black athlete, the black male athlete, the football players and the basketball players. When they get on, they say, "Oh, I got to take care of my mother now.
Mm-hmm.
I got to look after my mother. I got to pay my mother's bills." You're not your mother's man. But see, it goes right to the core of the evil, insidious, nefarious nature of feminism being pushed in the black community, because the black woman longs for the black man. The black man longs and lives for his black woman. So to strip that and to break down the bars, do you know that the black man and the black woman was worshipped, revered from one end of the earth to the other? The cracker couldn't figure out how we could do it. It's divine in nature. And so to substitute for that black man missing in your life, black woman, now you making your son your black man now. See, you can't escape it. You can run from it. You can try to hide from it. But the truth and the reality is that the black man and the black woman and the black child is the Holy Trinity. You can't escape it. So now you substituting your son for your husband, for your man. It's sickness. It's sick.
It is sick. And I know exactly the clip you're talking about, and I know why you're not going to say his name. He does make a good point from time to time, but I think he suffers a little bit from that misogynistic mindset with some of the things that he says. But, it goes back to, as Brother Genie would say, the white sex continuum. When you were talking about black women murdering their children, and even with you talking about this whole "this is my man" concept. I know because I have people in my family that do that. They'll say, "Yeah, my man made me breakfast," and I'm like, "Girl, who your man?" And they're like, "Girl, my son." I'm like, "No." Or I'm gonna take me and my man going out on a date. Who you going out with? My son. But see, the thing that we don't really want to talk about is a lot of us are just like, it's creepy, and we leave it at that. But we don't want to look at the fact that some of these relationships are crossing over into incest because the black woman has given up on trying to find a black man, and we have become so pathetic and just wretched. So not all of us, but the ones who do this, that we are now looking at our sons in that way. And there was a time when you might have to worry about protecting your children against some of the males in the family, but now you have to worry about the aunts, you have to worry about the mama. I hope you don't have to worry about the grandma. Hopefully they ain't got that deep yet. But this is something real that we're going to have to deal with. And my husband knew somebody once, and everybody thought he was just a coon because he would not date black women. He only dated white women, and nobody understood it. Well, come to find out that his black mother was molesting him as a child, and he was so turned off and disgusted, not to excuse him, but he could no longer stomach being with a black woman because of what his mother did to him. It's real.
Wow. And sis, back in my college days, I had a friend of mine, and we had a very kind of conversation once, and we were talking about how you can't get along with black women. I'm pretty sure that that's a conversation that black males have a lot, black men, and it didn't mean nothing to me at that point in time. But now that we're talking about this, he said something that was very deep to me. And we were talking about our future and, being married, and settling down and building a family. He said, I don't want a family. He said, I'm just going to get a girl pregnant and I'm just going to take the baby. Not like take the baby, but, I just want a woman to have a child and to give it to me. I want to be a single parent dad. It's just back in like 2005.
Wow.
It was so bizarre. It didn't mean anything to me now, but now I see. It's completely ridiculous. But going back to what you were saying, so yeah, now you're having sexual relations between the black woman and the black male child because there's a void there. You can't escape it. It's nature.
It is. And Jeannie, like I said, talked about that, the white sex continuum, where you start with misogyny, or I don't know the exact progression, but you have misogyny, you have homosexuality, and then you get into child molestation, bestiality, sadomasochism, cannibalism, all this stuff. And that's the same line that we're seeing now, knowing that feminism is so closely related to lesbianism. And then, like you said, looking at these women killing their whole family, stuff that only white women used to do. You never heard about black people doing that. I mean, the closest I ever heard was the story of Beloved, which actually was based on a true story that happened in my hometown. That's the closest that I've ever heard, and that was to free them from slavery. That wasn't just for the heck of it. And so it's real, and these are things that we need to study and need to look at, because while we're going around claiming to be independent women and thinking it's cute, we are unbalanced, and our families are unbalanced, and our communities are in a complete state of chaos.
That's true.
Yes, sir. So we will go on and go back to the phone lines. Let's see if this is my brother here. 4119, you're live.
Hey, peace, sis, brother Sharif.
Peace, brother. How you doing?
Hey, how you doing, sis? How you doing, brother Bodyshotz?
What's up, brother?
All right. Just a great show. I just wanted to thank the brother for the info that he gave me about the abolition movement. That was very helpful. When the PBS show came on down here, we did a radio show out of Charlotte and disputed, a lot of the information there. But a lot of the information that we got, you supplied the foundation, for that, because some of us weren't clear how deep it was. So thank you for that, brother. And also want to mention Margaret Sanger. She had a lot to do with feminism and turning a lot of our black leaders, against, the black family, saying that black women weren't fit to bear children. That they should, I think she called it the Negro Project, where she wanted the black preachers telling them to push the movement to sterilize black women.
You're coming in a little low, Brother Sharif. You were talking, I think the last thing I heard was the Negro problem.
Yes, the Negro. Can you hear me better now?
Oh, yes, sir. Thank you.
The Negro Project by Margaret Sanger. And I believe in 1939 she had solicited black preachers to push that the black family was incompetent of having children. And she said this would be the best way to get the masses of them, because if it's one of them pushing the message, it won't seem like it's genocide. And she solicited black preachers to go around saying that, is that my phone with that background?
I'm not sure.
Okay, wait. Yeah, want to wait now.
Yes, we can hear you though.
Okay, so that's all I was giving. I don't know if y'all had any feedback on that, but she had a lot to do. I think she even tried to solicit.
Yeah, we're getting that interference again. Yes, sir. Well, thank you so much. I don't know how we missed that one. That's actually an excellent point to bring to the discussion tonight. I'm going to try to bring you back on in just a few minutes and see if we can clear up some of the background noise so that we can hear you a little bit better. But thank you for bringing her up.
Okay, I took my earpiece off, so it's not me. Yeah.
Okay, yes, sir. I can hear you loud and clear now. Did you want to say something to finish up?
No, that's it. I was just saying if y'all had any feedback about Margaret Sanger, because she also tried to influence people like Ida B. Wells and different freedom fighters, because most of those people like her and Susan B. Anthony, they were lesbians. So they were trying to get them to go that way and steer them away from freedom fighting for black people, like you had mentioned earlier.
Yes, sir. And isn't that a slap in the face that they could say that black families were not fit to raise children? We raised their children for hundreds of years because they was too lazy and incapable to do it, but we're not capable.
Right. That's what they do. Like Malcolm said, they make your enemies seem like your friends, and your friends seem like your enemies.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Master manipulators.
Yes, sir. And it's becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy because we're starting to take worse and worse care of our families. But thank you for bringing that up. Definitely. That's one, like I said, I don't know how we missed that. We definitely need to discuss that a little bit.
Okay, man. Love y'all, and y'all keep doing what you do, man.
We love you.
Thanks, brother Bodyshotz.
Oh, thank you. That was excellent, brother.
All right, brother Bodyshotz, you want to address Margaret Sanger?
Oh,
since we all want abortion rights.
Definitely married a small hat. the jury's still out on whether she was actually a small hat. So we'll give her half. She's definitely in the mix-up, though. You know, the small hats is so much stuff. And when you talk about them in a setting like this, you gotta really like pick and choose your battles because they really into so much stuff. And yeah, they are behind the whole pro-choice, pro-life gibberish, and behind abortions. Anybody wants more information on that, Mayafa 21 was a good documentary that really brought to light the extreme racism behind Margaret Sanger and her true motives behind abortion rights. And that is one of the platforms of the feminist movement was to get abortion legalized. And once that happened, once it was legalized, you seen black abortions quadruple. I mean, just shot through the roof. I believe it was in L.A., and now I'm talking about the effects of an individual like Margaret Sanger. Then we're going to talk about Ida B. Wells right quick. But the effects of someone like Margaret Sanger and the feminist movement pushing for this right to abort children. In Los Angeles, a social worker found a dumpster with aborted babies in it. 17,000 aborted babies. And out of that 17,000, I think something like 15,000 were black babies. And that really speaks to the disparity and the true motivation of this whole abortions and all this other kind of stuff. You know, another thing, though, that feminism, a result of it, or the summation that we're seeing now, we're living in today, somebody sent me a link. A white family, a white male and female, had adopted black children and were beating them to death, and actually beat, I think, like a 7-year-old and a 12-year-old. One of them, they beat them to death, and the other girl, seriously injured, like struggling for her life. And what we see is, if the black woman no longer wants to take care of her children, then you're going to feed the abortion system and the foster care system, which means that now homosexuals and lesbians who cannot have children, but like Obama said in his press release, his stated address to the nation, I believe that homosexuals and lesbians should have the right to get married and raise their children. Well, Mr. Barry Soweto, Lucius Septimius, Mr. Swirly, as Brother Jeff would say, what children are these homosexual, degenerate, death-style, white sex individuals raising? I get it. The black children that the black woman no longer feels the need to take care of.
I can attest to that. I definitely, I was actually a foster parent right around the time they started changing the rules. Number one, to stop giving black families preferential treatment. They used to, if there was a black child who needed to be placed. I'm sorry, are you hearing a little background noise too, or is that just on my end?
I'm hearing it going in and out.
Okay. If it continues, then I'll try calling back in, but I think we're okay for now. They used to give black people preferential treatment to adopt a black child, regardless of financial situation. They felt it was better for the black child to be with a black family. And in the late 90s, all these rules changed, and all of a sudden, in the 2000s, they said, well, it doesn't matter, the child goes to the best family. So that could be a white family, that could be a gay family, that could be whatever. So I actually witnessed that happening. And the whole thing with abortion is not only is it killing our children, but it is creating such a moral decline, an ethical decline in our community. I don't know how we're going to get back from it. It gets worse and worse each generation. I was on Facebook earlier today, and there was a picture going around, and I don't remember the exact wording, but there was a little black girl.
Oh, man.
You saw it in the bathroom, taking a picture, one of those little nasty bathroom pictures with her butt poked out, saying, yeah, I'm about to go get my abortion today, but, you know, it's basically like, whatever, it's still all good. I forget the exact wording, but I was like, seriously, somebody really post that on Facebook? And that's where we are now. It's don't even matter, we killing a baby, we just gonna go on with our life and wait for the next person to come, and so we can kill that baby too. It's unbelievable. I never thought that we would get to this point where we're at now.
Yeah, thank you to Gloria Steinem and all of the foolish individuals that wanted to follow that nonsense. As Amos Wilson said, you got to really evaluate when you say you're free to do something in this system. You gotta analyze what are you doing and who gave you the taste for it. Who gave you the idea that that's something that you'd even want to go do? We say we're free. You know, he said, Amos Wilson says you're only free to do things that will destroy you.
Yes, sir.
It's ridiculous. But going back to the whole abolitionist movie documentary on PBS, bunch of garbage, and black people are ranting and raving on how this is. I mean, there's no white person, there's no good cracker that's gonna come save you. You know, I mean, the whole thing with the Django, man. This is Quentin Tarantino makes this movie about Django, and you know, I talked to a sister right after that. You know what she said to me?
What?
She couldn't even talk about the movie. This sister, and she's a very dark-skinned, very beautiful sister that I grew up with. First thing she asked me when we started talking about the movie, I wonder if Django would have fought for his woman if she was a field slave, a field Negro.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's very deep. You talking about this movie is for your liberation. It's not a liberation movement. It's just a movie to reinforce your post-traumatic slavery disorder and to keep you in the condition that you're in. So now it's reinforcing without us even knowing that you looking, but in your subconscious, now black women saying with that, you know, Kerry Washington is light-skinned. All through the movie, they reinforce that she's a house slave. Would he have done that if she was a field slave? See? You gotta watch that Small Hat. Cha-cha-cha-cha-cha. But they like to bring up Ida B. Wells and Sojourner Truth. But the truth is, Ida B. Wells, when you go look at her documents, don't listen to what somebody telling you. Go look at it. Go do the research for yourself. Ida B. Wells and all her documents, all her papers, she never, ever, never once did she say that the rape of black men, the rape of black women, and the lynching of black men were two mutually exclusive events. She said both of them were one and the same and represented white supremacy. Ida B. Wells didn't say, I'm a woman, my suffering is greater than the black man's. She said the black man and the black woman is one. And our suffering is all-encompassing. So if we're going to come up hand in hand. See? So when you look at this whole abolitionist stuff and the stuff that they're putting out on these documentaries, that's to shape your consciousness. That's not historical truth. That's not accurate. And Sojourner Truth, her "I am a woman" speech, that's like they left that one up. What you don't realize is that Sojourner Truth could not write. She was not literate in that fashion. All of her speeches, including that one, "I am a woman," guess who wrote it? Frances Gage, a small hat. And even to this day, there's speculation on whether she wrote it the way Sojourner Truth told it. See?
So how do we start to heal from all this? I mean, it's like we're at an all-time low. It's done so much damage in so many different ways. And like you said, whether black women want to admit it or not, most of us have some feminist thoughts. I mean, even I have to check myself sometimes, you know, from time to time. But we all feel it. This is how we've been raised. This is what we've seen on television and the media. A reaction to misogynistic hip-hop and all kinds of stuff. So we're definitely knee deep in this feminism, lesbianism, all, you know, hand in hand type stuff. What can we do to start to heal this?
Oh man, for one, stop comparing yourself to the white woman. For one, that's what the black women's gonna have to stop doing right then and there. She's gonna have to stop comparing herself. When I looked at the black feminist movement, all I saw was we're women too. We can do just like white women can do. We can see. Stop trying to be like white women, the white females, these white, Dr. Collins said, cave bitches. Stop trying to be like them. Stop trying to emulate them. For one. That's one thing. Take the process out your head, you know. A process is a process mind. We start right there. You can start right there. That's one. Number two, we're gonna have to start embracing our true history. We're gonna have to start embracing the true history of the black man and the black woman. and the institution of the black family. That's two. Number three, we're going to have to completely get out of our minds that there's some good crackers. See, we never would have got into this if somebody didn't believe that there was a good cracker somewhere.
Right.
We never would have got duped into the abolitionist movement. We never would have got duped into Reconstruction. We never would have got duped into civil rights. We never would have got duped into all of this nonsense if somebody didn't believe that it was a good cracker. Once that happens, then what Garvey said is that the black man and the black woman will not know themselves until their back is against the wall. And I say, can't you feel the coldness of those bricks? Until the black woman looks inside, until the black man looks inside and starts to reshape, and we got the elders to do it. Baba Baruti, I mean, the list goes on. We got a wealth, a plethora of scholars, jegnas, that have the information to re-Africanize us, to get us back on the right track. So I know it's easier said than done, but those are some of the things that must be done. Now, the last point I'm going to make is one economic in nature. Since the 1980s, black women in this country have seen an increase of 82% increase in their income, while black men have only seen an 11% increase in our income. So now what you have is a situation where corporate America, white corporate America, has embraced the black woman. Now, I'm not saying it's to slight black women as if they weren't good enough on their own merit to do these things, but you have to understand there's agenda behind it. You have an increase in black women as CPAs, attorneys, middle managers in Fortune 500 companies. We've seen it in that silly Tyler Perry movie. I can't stand this guy. This fag. It's called A Family That Prays. Have you seen that, sis?
You know what?
You see with a black woman. It was Tanai Lathan. She leaves her husband and sleeps around with this white CEO, and truly, she just destroys the black family.
I'm trying to
think.
I may have seen. Is that the one where she got slapped real hard?
I think so.
I think I did. I did. I got dragged kicking and screaming. By the way, I didn't volunteer for that.
So, we got people endorsing Tyler Perry now. It's kind of crazy, but
yeah.
So that right there, that economic piece, black women have seen an increase in their income, 82%, while black men have only seen an 11% increase. Now you're starting to see an acceptance and an increase in black women on college campuses, which translates to their increase in the demographic of boardrooms across this country. And that also goes to reinforce the disturbance of the black family structure, because now the black woman becomes the breadwinner, and now the black man is extremely disenfranchised. So you have a situation where the black woman is in the best position she's ever been in to be the true daughter of our set and to put Assad back together again. Now the question is, will the black woman rise to the occasion? I mean, this is the final showdown. Or will she be enlisted into white supremacy to fight against the interests of her own people?
Yes, sir. And to add on to that, I'd say some things that I like to do. Number one is turn off the TV. That's why a lot of times when people ask me, have I seen this? Have I heard that? I'm like, no, because really, I really do kind of live under a rock. I don't watch TV. I'm a big fan of Netflix and documentary sites, and that's about it. I don't really turn on the television. So a lot of times I don't really know what's going on. It's probably better that way. So turn off the TV so you're not always getting those subliminals. I think that we need to realize the power of femininity and stop listening to white people telling us that it makes us weaker or less than. When you realize that every time you cook a meal, you're determining whether your family lives or dies. That's a big thing. Nurturing your children, you have control over whether they come out psychologically healthy or not. That's a big thing. There's nothing feminine about feminism, so we need to leave that alone completely. And I'd say celebrating the importance of masculinity. A lot of times, we're all into this feminism stuff, and we have stopped valuing manhood and masculinity. Men are our protectors. They're our maintainers. That's something to be cherished. That's something to be celebrated. Manhood is not measured by a paycheck. Just because you may be making more than your man, okay, well, that's good for your household. Leave it at that. That doesn't make you better than him. That doesn't put you above him. That doesn't mean that he is not the head of your household, or that he's not wise, or he's not as good as you. That's just a paycheck. And we know, especially conscious women should know, that that's just another plot by white people to cause division in the household, and we shouldn't go for that. And I think, I know you said, stop comparing yourself to white women, stop looking up to white women, and I remember there was a show you called into where you said that you had told your wife, if a white person gives you a compliment, a white lady comes up and gives you a compliment and says, oh, what a pretty baby or something like that, you've told them, cut it off, don't even accept that compliment. And I think that's good to hear from you, definitely, because a lot of times women don't even know, how to cut it off. A lot of times we're just bred to be friendly and smiley and non-confrontational, so we'll go along with it. And when you made that statement, I thought it was absolutely brilliant, because that's not something most women would think of as far as regaining some kind of mental balance. Do you have any other suggestions, or do you want to go into that one a little bit?
Oh, yeah. The way I came to that, I understood very clearly, and who helped me to really understand this was Brother DJ from the Cypher. When I met him for the first time, he explained to me in great detail that every encounter that you have with a white is warfare. And not long after that, I'm in like I think it was Sears or so, and I got my daughter, a beautiful little queen, and at the time she's about, I think maybe she's about 1, about to turn 2. And these 2 old hags, like 2 old witches, come up, and they all shinning and grinning. They say, "Oh, she sure is a pistol." And I'm like, "What?" I was like, "What about a baby equates that to something violent or destructive as a pistol?" And it was at that point I was like, "Man, even they compliments is warfare. That's crazy." And so yeah, that's why I came up with that. I told my wife that anytime she's anywhere and a white male or female gives a compliment to either her or my daughter, to ignore it, she then took it to a whole nother level. And whenever my daughter sees whites in public, I can get her to say devil real quick, and whites get they get the message. But another thing this whole feminist thing has done is completely destroy the aspirations of young black men to even be males. Now we could talk about how black women talk about black men once they gone, and your father ain't nothing, he this, he that, and all of that. But on a very base level, it goes even deeper than that. I see so many black women getting their sons to carry their pocketbooks. I think I was like at Chuck E. Cheese for a family thing, and one of my cousins told her son, she was like, "Hand me my pocketbook." And I was like, "Man, don't grab that pocketbook." He's about 11 years old. I don't grab that pocketbook. I said, "Hey, come get your own daggone pocketbook. He a boy. He a man. Men don't touch no pocketbooks." And I was like, this is crazy. And everybody look at me like I'm the black sheep, like something wrong with me. And I was like, I can remember a day when in the black community, a male did not touch a pocketbook. You didn't even look at a pocketbook, let alone touch it. Now you carrying it. I'm saying young black boys in the grocery store with the big bag, tote bags, like over their shoulders, and they walking with it. That's not helping your mother. Black woman, that's not helping build a man. That's not reinforcing his manhood. Then it was another thing. I ride a bus one day. Now, I'm talking from experience now. I'm not talking about what I read in a book. I'm talking about on the ground, what I'm seeing. I'm on the bus. It's a black woman with her son. and they got into it a little bit, but it wasn't nothing where he was being extremely disrespectful. She punched him in his chest and said, "Take that bass out your voice." And I said, ooh, she's destroying him to the core of his soul, his manhood. His vocals is supposed to flex at that age. He's about 14 or so. He's transforming. She's killing that very thing that makes him a man. What does you mean, black woman? Take the bass out your voice. The black man is supposed to have bass in his voice. These are the type of things that go to reinforce on a daily level. This war between the black man and the black woman.
It is, and I can see that. I believe you 100% because that's part of feminism, is wanting to crush masculinity completely. It's not just, females are all that. It's we want to crush manhood, and we're doing a lot of that. Everything, not everything, because all women do not fall into this category, but I'm seeing it more and more that it's a majority. Almost everything that we say or do works to crush masculinity in our male children. And that's something that we're really going to have to deal with, because we say that we can't find husbands. Well, what are we leaving for our daughters? We're raising a generation of faggots. Our daughters are going to have nobody to go to but each other. But of course, that's all right with us now, because homosexuality is all right. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Well, now look at now that you brought that up. Here's another thing about the feminist movement: the promiscuity of women. That women should be tied down to one man. That women should explore their sexual fantasy. All this ridiculousness. That as if to say, see, it's a false premise. Feminism is a false reality. It's a false paradigm. Any black woman that has brought into this nonsense has took a trip into fantasy land. Doesn't exist. It's a pure fabrication of what you said earlier, the white sex continuum. How in the world is a black woman going to gain her freedom, her liberation, the reason of her consciousness, by spreading her legs from man to man, sexual encounter to sexual encounter? And that's one of the main tenets of the feminist movement, is that women shouldn't be tied down to marriages, and they should be able to hoe around. And that seems very far-fetched, but how it gets even more sophisticated, as a black man today raising a daughter, got my watoto, she's 2 years old, I sit down with her mother, and we discuss her upbringing and how she's going to be raised, so we can get on one page. And we discuss the age where she's going to start dating, or where she's going to be allowed, or that we will endorse her dating. I said 18. Well, my wife comes back and says, well, no, that's not fair. When I was younger, my brothers was having girlfriends. Boys get to have girlfriends when they 12, 13, 14. That's not fair. She got to wait till she's 18 and all that stuff. See, feminism. You're not calling yourself a feminist, but you're feminist in nature. See? So now you got a situation where black women are saying, I'm not going to raise my daughter like I was raised. She can have a boyfriend when she's 12. When she's 8 years old, she can have a boy in her bedroom with the door closed and locked. She's free. She's free to be a woman. See? She's free to express herself. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So don't tell me about teenage pregnancy. Don't tell me about why AIDS is killing more black women than any other group, any other segment of the population. See?
Yes, sir, that's true. And caller, I see you on the line. We're coming right at you in just a moment. Anybody else that wants to call in before we wrap up, it's 760-569-7676 and participation code 948656#. And you make a good point, because I'm going to tell you, a lot of people still are in the dark about the fact that women are worse than men now, as far as being promiscuous, as far as being just dirty and shiesty. We do things that... I mean, it's unreal. I don't have words for it. I guess that I'm just not in touch anymore. But when I hear these younger females talking, especially in their teens and 20s, my mind is blown over things that are going on and their mentality and the fact that it's okay. And some of that has to do with the easy abortions. Some of it has to do with condoms, and we're passing that out in junior high like it's candy in a lot of schools. It's just been a complete change from when I was growing up. When I was growing up, we had a program called PSI. It was Postponing Sexual Involvement. And it was a program where they would take high school students and we would go into classes and teach the 7th graders abstinence education. And that would be taught along with safe sex. It was, the duality, because we know not everybody is going to be abstinent, but not everybody wants to have sex either. So we would go in there for 5 weeks and train these people about sex and how to say no and all of this stuff. And that's gone now. There is no abstinence. There is no waiting. It's almost like we expect our daughters to have sex. We don't have standards for them anymore at all. So instead of saying, well, we should teach abstinence, no, that's unrealistic. They're going to do it anyway. So we give them a condom and put them out there. And even a child who may not want to have sex feels like they're abnormal if they're not, because mom expect me to do it, dad expect me to do it. It's crazy, the psyche that we are putting into our daughters, and then we wonder why they are not even able to function and have a relationship. I know parents who know that their child is 14, 15 years old, but yet they can go out with a 21-year-old, a 25-year-old, and that's okay. That's a failure on our part as parents. Yes, sir. All right. Well, let's see. 8480, you're live. Did you have a question or comment?
Oh, I have a lot to say.
Oh, good.
Assalamu alaikum and peace to everybody listening.
Walaikum salam.
Plainly put, lesbian feminism is evil. Lesbian feminism is of the devil. It is no place for civilized people, particularly civilized black people. And we have to understand, we speak about the 60s with the so-called women's lib movement and how this evil was woven into our consciousness. But I would ask people if they can do the research, look for the letter that Susan B. Anthony wrote to Ida B. Wells, where she castigated her for betraying the cause of women. Now, what did she do to betray the cause of women's rights? She got married. That nasty lesbian, Susan B. Anthony, had a nerve to write her, to criticize her for having a man, a husband. When I look sometimes at this issue of feminism, one thing I find very interesting is that many of us who call ourselves Afrocentric are not on a beam, because somehow, some way, they have been led to believe. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That somehow in Africa we worship our women. That somehow we bow to them, and we were not given the respect as men should get. I suggest that people, if they can, get a hold of the book by Valentine. I believe it's a book, The Wounded Womb, and he gets into the whole thing of this feminist movement, what it's done, with documentation. I also recommend that if you go on YouTube, you go to blacktown.net. The brother has been on the case since the late 90s, exposing what 40 years of feminism has done, not only to the black man, but the black child, the black woman. And in a sense, how we as black men allowed this feminist to get the ear, like the witch in the Wizard of Oz. That woman being Dorothy, and the feminist being the witch. And what's ironic about that, what does Dorothy have to do to come back to herself? go home. Come back home. Which is interesting because one of the things that they've been doing successfully is pulling women from home. From the home. In this so-called career mode. And we have to take a stand. Because I'm listening to what the comments that you and the brother have said, how he's having a tough time trying to raise his daughter correct, to be chaste, to be moral, to be decent, to really, in a sense, and really be strong. That is strength. Your spiritual strength, your moral strength, your emotional strength, intellectual strength, academic strength. That's strength. Not this crazy, twisted notion of telling a black man where to go. And when he's right. If he's wrong, then he should be corrected. But many times we are right, and the presumption is that we're a bunch of fools, and therefore are worthy of no respect at all. The brother made a point about it. The state of Texas, 87% of affirmative action goes to white women. Right now, they're talking about in New York State passing a law where some Women's Equality Act as far as income. Yet, there's nothing on the table about the disparity between black people and white people in Sherwood. Nothing. Which automatically include black men and black women. That's feminism at work.
Yes, sir.
Did I say too much?
Oh, no. I was waiting to see if you had anything else to say.
You know, I've been looking at these things for years, and it amazes me that a lot of our males don't understand this. When you look out, who are the homeless ones? Majority speaking, black men, put out, crushed, destroyed, stepped on. Like The Color Purple. You have Brewster Place. You have Wait It Says Hell. Well-financed media projects to further destroy the black man. And as that black man is destroyed, so will go the black family. And it has happened. It has come to pass.
Yes, sir.
Pharaoh said he would destroy the firstborn male into defeating the children of Israel. It's right here before us. And I'm not going to mention the person's name, but some well-known leader actually made a statement last week or 2 weeks ago praising Tyler Perry.
Y'all can name names if you want to. It's up to you. But don't. It's war on the horizon. You can name as many names as you want to. We know who it is.
I mean, and somehow reflecting the strength of the black woman in the Medea role.
Hey, brother, this individual said that Tyler Perry was a spiritual giant, and that is quote unquote.
But brothers, maybe, I don't know if either one of you know it, that same brother has also been pictured with Keith Boykin, who is a big gay rights activist. And he's been pictured with him. So I'm not really shocked, but I know a lot of people are.
Well, I guess I'm not shocked either, but this is incredible. You know, there is, when you have a RuPaul and a Medea, this is proof positive of the war on a black man's spirit, mind, masculinity. I heard the brother talk about the 14-year-old, how the mother said, get the bass out your voice. Just today, I happened to see a youth I hadn't seen in a long time. You know, a few years, okay? Got a deep voice. I was proud to hear that. I said, man, he's I wouldn't try to suppress that. But, you know, as the name of the website, no, it's not on the horizon. Well, it's right here. Beyond the horizon. It's right here on the plane. The sun has risen.
Yes, sir. We are definitely.
That's why I have to stay. I want to dominate, you know, the airwaves.
Oh, definitely. Well, thank you so much for calling in. We definitely appreciated your call and call back in anytime.
Serve me well.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. That's very true. It is here. We've been in the midst of it for a long time. And we are going to start wrapping up the show. We are past the 9 o'clock hour, but I did want to make a couple points that just happened to come to my mind listening to the brother and even a little bit before that. Number one, conscious community. We are not immune from this just because we're in the conscious community. I don't even know what the conscious community means or what it is, because anybody that reads any kind of book can be conscious community. I mean, metaphysics, now all of a sudden because you can levitate, you conscious. You read a tantra book and now you conscious because you can heal through tantra and all that. But there's a growing group of people going around who are advocating open relationships, which is not polygamy. It's actually the man can do whatever he wants to, the woman can do whatever she wants to, and I guess it's like a woman's answer to polygamy. Well, if you can do it, I can do it too. So you have these two individuals doing whatever they want to do with whoever they want to do it with, bringing all this nasty stuff back home just to try to say that they have some kind of equality. So do not get drawn into that if hopefully you have not yet. But it's a lot of freaky deaky stuff going on. That's one thing that I've noticed. And this is still under the guise of consciousness because and metaphysics, because we don't own our partner, we don't limit love. We need more love, and through love we can manifest all that stuff. We really need to define what the conscious community is, because some of y'all really need to be kicked out and not be able to claim that title. And the other thing, I know we were talking briefly about Africa, and that's another place where the feminists have really been doing their work as far as female genital mutilation, which I studied a lot back in my 20s. I was really into that. I thought it was the most horrible thing in the world, and I would not want to be part of it. But we do have to look at the fact that that is a culture, that is what they believe in, and they have a black woman and black man together relating far better than we do. We don't get all out of sorts when we hear about male circumcision, but the small hats come to us with female circumcision, and all of a sudden, again, we're holding the men as our enemies, even though it's the woman that does the cutting. It's the women who insist on doing it for the most part, but it's done just to keep the man the enemy. So just like they're doing it here, they're doing it there, and creating a lot of animosity between us. They find one issue that's a little controversial and they use it to their benefit. So those are some of the things that I've seen. Did you have any comments about the caller or anything else that you wanted to add as we wind down, Brother Bodyshotz?
I don't know what it was about this comment. That was actually a comment, by the way, but it just made me think of something that was probably completely off topic.
Sure.
Are you familiar with Shahzad Ali's book, Black Man's Guide to Understanding?
I certainly am. Me and Sister Shahzad used to be real good friends. She lived around the corner from my mama. I know her very well.
Oh, okay. What are your thoughts on that book? A lot of people, matter of fact, I was just at a at a little dinner get together, black family, and one of the brothers went in his library and pulled the book out, and as soon as he came in the room with all the black women, it's like turning the lights on roaches. Do you think that book did it help more than it hurt? With the lack of understanding, or how did you perceive that book as a synopsis on the black male-female dynamic?
That book, I think, is very interesting. I read it probably in my early 20s, and I'm glad that I did. It was good as far as shining the light on the problem of black women, and also for black men. I think that it opened their eyes a lot because they weren't aware of some of the game that black women are running. For me, it showed me some of the things that I was doing unconsciously that I didn't even realize that needed to be addressed. So it was beneficial in that respect. The only place that I see where it fell short was solutions, because I got the problem, I got what I wasn't doing right, but I didn't get the solution on how I could fix it. So I think it was good in some way, not perfect. It had some controversial things being said, but I think that it's a good starting point for Black women to do some introspection, and also for Black men to be able to understand Black women. But hopefully, they won't take it to the point where they see that Black women are damaged, and then they become misogynistic and think less of Black women. It's a real fine line there.
Hey, you know what? We've been honest. I'm gonna be honest. When I was growing up in high school, a lot of brothers might get mad at me for this. They saying I'm selling out some type of way or something. But I'm just gonna be completely honest with this thing, because we're trying to heal the Black family. When I was coming up, it was common knowledge. Now, I know they might take my car, you know what I'm saying, but I didn't settle down. I'm a family man anyway. I don't need the car. So you can take it, because I'm out to drive. It was common knowledge. I mean, it was so pervasive. It was everywhere. I went to 3 different high schools, and every single high school is pretty consistent. When a Black man was looking for what the kids call today a jump off, or a fling, or something that he was going to hit it and quit it, we look for a Black woman that did not have a male figure in the household.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know how that's been put out there. I don't know how the Black family's going to take it. But, you know, I ain't always been conscious. So I'm going to tell the truth about this thing, because we're trying to heal the Black family. So back then in high school, I'm talking about in the 2000s, turn 2000, 2001 and all that, it was common for Black males to seek out specifically Black women, Black females, Black young girls that did not have fathers in their lives. There was a deficiency there that was so deep that pretty much made her easy pickings for the exploitation. And I'm putting it out there. So you're starting to see the culmination. We're starting to see the end result, the true end game of the devastation of the Black family, because the Black woman no longer wants to be with the Black man, and in return, the Black man no longer wants to be with the Black woman.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I think
that's a sickness.
It is, and I've been trying to pinpoint exactly when it happened, because when I was in high school, you know, we still wanted to be together. We still wanted a Black boyfriend, Black girlfriend, you know, Black person of the opposite sex. And I don't know when this happened, but I know definitely it happened along the way, and it happened fast too, because I look up one day and now everybody's gay. You either want a white boy or a white woman, Black woman, anything but your complement. So yeah, I don't know when it happened, but it definitely happened. I'm a few years ahead of you, but yeah, it just wasn't like that when I was in school at all. Let's see, we have one more caller. I'm going to see if they're just listening in or if they have a comment. 9653, you're live.
Just listening in, sir.
Okay, yes, sir. Thank you for listening. All right, I just wanted to check on that. So I guess we can start winding down. Well, I guess I don't even know where to end this show. Wow. What do you think was the absolute death blow to the Black relationship, where it went from how it was kind of when we were still young, where we still were interested in each other, to where it is now? And we've gone over the healing a little bit, but I think we need to know what this big, what the death blow was, what made it happen, because it happened so fast, it just exploded. It seems like it just exploded. What was that, and any last tips on healing, I guess?
Wow. If I could pinpoint what was the biggest, the major factor in the decimation that we see as a result of feminism, would be one. I'm gonna break it down into 2 parts. One would be the social programming, with the programming, even in black sitcoms, things like that, with the black man, like Family Matters. You know, the black man, Carl Winslow, was a fact, by the way, but the black man is like stupid, very comical, you know, the Happy Sambo type. What's this movie? The sitcom Tyler Perry got out. Pain, the Pains. Is that what it's called?
I have no idea, but I'm sure it's horrible.
He had a sitcom. It's called The Pains or something like that. Yeah, the father is just a complete clown. And so you see all of this. Long gone are the days of the Huxtables. So we're saying all of this. Not only that, in like television, news, in the media in general, Hollywood. For example, I mean, we're being exalted or every turn, but for example, like different products, when they market them, they don't market them to fathers. You hardly ever see marketing to fathers. I think Cheerios is, or Kits is kid tested, mother approved, or some of them is kids love them, moms like them, or something like that. It's always something like that to where they're reinforcing the woman, but not the male as a complement in that family structure. That's one. The second one I would say is the legal system. We all know that Smallhats made up a large percentage of lawyers. My car just got towed. I looked through the phone book. I ain't seen nothing but Smallhats. Horowitz, Benowitz, all this other kind of crazy stuff.
Right.
So they in the legal system, the judges, and all of them get paid when black women can't settle their disputes. They have to take it to the court. And now we have a situation where they created the problem, and now the solution involves you going towards the court to get a matter resolved. Now, I don't want nobody to misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm not saying that a black man is not supposed to take care of this family. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm talking about is the abuse of the system and how it's being designed and utilized to destroy the black family. See, what we got to understand is, even with the child support situation, that money that comes from that black man is, it doesn't go directly to the black woman. I was listening to a program up in Baltimore, and a black woman called in, and she was talking about how she didn't get her regular checks or whatever. And what she came to find out was that all of this money goes through a clearinghouse. Who owns the bank? Smallhats. So this money goes through a clearinghouse, and they don't have any regulation on when they make the payout. So they collect all this money from the black man, and then they sit on it, and they collect interest, and they make investments on it. So they flipping it, and then at will, whenever they feel like it, and then they cut the black woman a check. All of these things are transpiring, and I see the legal system as being a way of incentivizing black women to, if they can't come to a happy medium in a lot of cases, or when the black man doesn't capitulate to their feminist agendas and behaviors, now she can turn to the state as a battering ram to punish the black man. So you see a black man that has sought the love and the affection of a black woman to settle down with her, to build with her. He has not looked to the white female. He's not looked into all this homosexual nonsense. But he has sought after a meaningful relationship with the black woman. He's taking care of business. He's providing for the children. He comes home to her every night. What is his end? Well, if there's a disagreement, then the black woman go right down to the state, file papers, and this black man that did everything right is now still being sucked back and oppressed by the system. So if I would say in recent times would be the hyperinflation of black families taking issues into the courts.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Well, any other comments or suggestions before we get off air?
No, sis. I had fun tonight.
Me too.
Man, you are the crackers say you are a riot.
Thank you, and I appreciate you being the guest today. I thought we need to start getting you back on here talking about these small hats, and what better way to do it than something controversial with some feminism. So I thank you for pointing me in the right direction of that abolitionist movie. And I don't know if you've seen this or not. If you haven't, then I got an assignment for you, because I might have to have you come back and talk about this at some point. Have you seen a movie called Warriors of the Rainbow?
That sounds familiar. I don't think I have.
Okay, it's about and I've talked about this before somewhere. It's about a tribe called the Sadiq Balay, and they are the indigenous Taiwanese, and they were being oppressed by the Japanese. And the way they went about revolution was 1,000,000% different than the way we go about it. So if you get a chance, it's on Netflix. They have a 2-hour version and like a 5-hour version. I watched the 2-hour version. I'm about to go buy the 5-hour version just because the movie was that good. So when you get a chance, watch that and let me know what you think. And we might have to do another show based on that because it was that good.
Oh wow, that's excellent.
Yeah,
I'm definitely gonna check that out.
Definitely, the ambassador put me on to that, and I thank him very much because that was an excellent movie. So we will definitely come back and do that. But thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. I appreciate it.
Oh, you know what? I had one more in closing.
Okay.
And some of these small heads, they so slick and shiesty. It's hard to pin them down. In the 70s, the Bible of feminism was written by Betty Friedan. She was like the mother of feminism in the 70s. Okay? Mm-hmm. She writes this Bible. It's called Feminist Mystique. And that's the Bible of feminism, both black and white. But you know the crazy part about it? While she was writing this book to get all these women roused up and fighting men and destroying the male principle, guess what she was doing?
What's that?
She was at home in white suburbia, taking care and rearing her 3 children, breastfeeding and everything.
And that really is.
Oh,
go ahead.
I'm just saying, we've been had. It's time to self-correct.
And that's a perfect way to end, because that's actually what I was talking about at the very beginning of the show. They've made us buy into this. We got to be this corporate woman making all this money outside of the household. We don't need a man. And meanwhile, now they are at home taking care of their men and their children and raising stable families. And we haven't caught on yet. We're still falling for the okie doke.
Oh my! Can you imagine? I mean, do we really believe that there's some small hat Jew females crying because they don't get a bar mitzvah? I mean, it's the most ridiculous thing. They at home cooking up some lox and bagels for stocking bomber. So when he get home from raping us economically in the boardroom, he can have a nice warm meal. Isn't that lovely?
And gefilte fish. Best thing since pickled pig feet.
Oh man, you know what I find out since we cracking on these small heads? The whole feminist movement, they was pushing something called rhinoplasty. You know what rhinoplasty is?
Yeah, the nose surgery. They need it.
Man, when you look up feminists, these are the most ugliest, disgusting looking creatures that you like, the Blue Lagoon type. They just crawled out of the waste gutter of history. These are the most disturbing images of human life form I've ever seen. And they had this big thing about rhinoplasties, like getting their nose chopped down. They got big noses and big ears. Oh, curly, orthodox, just sit on man. It's really amazing to me that they would be the ones pushing this mess. Bunch of ugly, But yeah, they was the ones doing it.
Well, nobody else wants them, so they got to rely on each other.
Yeah. Women power.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, we're going to go on and wind down. So thank you so much. And I will be talking to you soon. Definitely. Again, thank you for doing the show tonight.
All right. Thank you, sis.
A BB for Hodier. All right, brothers and sisters. Well, that is another wonderful Bodyshotz program. A little more laid back tonight. We ain't want to hit you too hard, but actually he got quite a few good punches in tonight. Hopefully that gives us more of a reason to stay away from feminism and focus on our own system, which is complementarity. If you want to tune in tomorrow for my program, Message to the Black Fam from 7 to 9, we will be doing an open lines survival show. I will have the brother from Asafo Gun Club with me. So that will be an excellent program to call in. I know I did a program on survival, but I'm not an expert. This brother knows everything. So if you have questions on building shelters, water purification, guns, food storage, anything you have a question about, you need to call in tomorrow because this brother will get you right. After my program, we have the Cypher, and they are going to be discussing womanhood development with Mama Yabaruti. So you don't want to miss that. That's not too often we get to hear from our sister outside of the Abibi Fahodier program. So you definitely want to tune in to that tomorrow as well. And don't forget that we have Sister Yaya's new program on Sunday. We have the Southbound Lane with Louis Ali, and then we have Sister Yaya coming on right after him. So be sure to tune in. And the Irritated Genie of Southeast should be back next week because I ain't doing no more shows. I feel like I've been on the air 7 days a week. So you won't have to worry about being bothered with hearing me on the air anymore for a while. Brother Genie will be back, and I know he's got some exciting stories to tell. Great news. I think he's just had an excellent past few weeks. So he will be back to tell you all about that. Exactly what has he been up to and made y'all put up with me for the last 3 shows. So you will hear all that. So as I said, have a wonderful evening and join me tomorrow for the Message to the Black Fam program at 7 o'clock. Peace.
Black to the faggots ain't no faggot. If a man won't protect his own behind, he will do nothing for our race. If a sister will not come out of that behavior, if a sister doesn't want out of that behavior, and if she goes to bed at night lusting after a female, she can't build no nation. You're wasting your, my, and our racist black time. Leave them alone.
It's the one. Brothers and sisters, you gotta stand up. Death to white supremacy, fight this homosexual assault on our children, yo. And death to this faggot shit, too. Let's get it.
Somebody spike your lemonade, dealing with a renegade. I'm thinking about getting free and thinking about getting paid. The time to make a change, mentally you still a slave and misbehave like the same beast who came out the cave. No matter how you word it, homosexual perversion, that ain't African and that's a fact like that I'm certain. Your rappers is fruity, smelling like booty. Faggots wear skinny jeans, don't matter if it's Gucci. Smoke you like a Lucy just for thinking you can do me. Messing with Louis, yo faggot I like. You think you got swag, but I think you a fag. Lil Wayne look like a dyke. Rappers dressing in drag, should be rapping at the gay parade. Mohawk with funny shades, fruity dudes looking sick. Somebody gave this lemon AIDS. This ain't gay bashing, it's murder. Straight caskets, nickel plated magnum. I see you, I'm straight blasting. Face gashes, razor, straight slashing. Gasoline lighter, fire, straight ashes. Running straight past them. You hear me? I'm straight faggot. And I don't date faggots. You hear me? I hate faggots. Yes, I'm homophobic. Keep it moving like aerobics. Diddy's bending over. He's a faggot and I know it. This brother's a poet. All the honeys wanna go with. Gay marriage is legal now. You dummies won't support it.
Extinction agenda. Dudes acting XX, real moist and tender. Ask why when it comes to defense. See, we the first line. I seize